This is the Ottawa Senators Outlook. Here is your host, Jack Henry.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Ottawa Senators Outlook. I'm your host, Jack. This is my catch-up episode for the Capitals, Predators, and Coyotes games. And the Senators are hitting all-time lows right now. They lost all 3 games, losing to the Capitals 6-3, losing to Nashville 4-1, and losing to Arizona 5-3. So let's start off with Monday's game against Washington, losing the game 6-3. Protas scored the first goal for Washington. That's followed up by John Carlson on the power play. Patterson and Pinto tied up at 2. And then Pacioretty back on the power play with the third goal. And then Beck Malenstein with the 4th goal for Washington, his 6th of the season. After 20 minutes, it is 4-2 in favor of the Washington Capitals. Anton Forsberg started this game against Darcy Kemper. And Forsberg was pulled after the first period. Korpisalo comes in. Early on, Brady Tkachuk scores a goal to make it 4-3, but then Jonas Korpisalo obviously has to give up a goal 30 seconds later to Hendrix Lapierre to make it 5-3, and then Lapierre scores another goal later in the second period, 6-3. Nothing happens in the third. Sens lose 6-3. And it was an absolutely pathetic game for the Ottawa Senators, especially with the goaltending. Couldn't make a single save as always, and it drops our record to 25-28-3, but let's get to the Nashville game, losing this game 4-1. And Korpisalo started this game. It was on the back-to-back. Michael McMarron scored the first goal for Nashville. Roman Josi on the power play to make it 2-0. And then Drake Batherson scores his 20th on the power play. After 20 minutes, it is 2-1 in favor of Nashville. Roman Josi scores his second goal to make it 3-1. Only goal scored in the second period. In the third period, Gustav Nyquist scored to make it 4-1, and that was the Nashville win. And something to note here, for the first time in Senators franchise history, their 31 years, the third period for the Senators was their first ever without a single shot on net, which is absolutely brutal and completely a lack of effort for the Senators. They are hitting new lows, and you thought that was bad? Well, we're going to go about this game right now. Losing to the Arizona Coyotes 5-3, and the reason why this is much worse, I'll give you a little bit of a background. The Arizona Coyotes were on a 14-game losing streak. They haven't won a single game since January 22nd, and their goaltender in net was Karel Vejmelka, and he hadn't won a single game since late December, which means he hasn't won a single game in 2024. And the Senators, as inept and pathetic as they are, couldn't beat that. Michael Carcone scores his 16th of the season to make it 1-0. J.J. Moser scores his 4th to make it 2-0. Nick Schmaltz on the power play, 3-0. So already right there, Coyotes already up 3-0. Vladimir Tarasenko scores his 16th to make it 3-1. And then on the second period, Drake Batherson scores to make it 3-2. Shane Pinto on the power play to tie it. So the Senators are kind of getting in a rhythm, you'd think. Nope. Dylan Gunther scores on the power play to make it 4-3, and then Matias Maccelli on an empty netter to win it 5-3. So the Ottawa Senators again, and then Forsberg played in this one. It was supposed to be Korpisalo, but he's out with illness, so again, he didn't play in this one, obviously. The Ottawa Senators are 25-30-3, which is only good enough for 53 points, and they are just continuing to lose in record low ways, in my opinion. This is some of the worst hockey I've seen this team play. I would even argue this could be worse than the rebuild years, because even then there weren't much expectations. This team was expected to be a playoff hunt team, and they're just not even playing to that. They are now the second worst team in the Eastern Conference, obviously ahead of Columbus, and they're just finding ways to lose, and in embarrassing ways as well. This team just is pathetic, I would say, and I think that would even be generous. I'll give you a good example right here. Liam O'Brien for the Arizona Coyotes was pushing around Claude Giroux and Brady Tkachuk during the game, and it seemed like nobody really did anything about it. Brady Tkachuk obviously went to the room a little right after. Claude Giroux was heated after the end of the first period, and Senators seemed like they did nothing from it. If I'm Claude Giroux, and as of a beauty Claude Giroux is, he is one of the top class players in the NHL. He's been in the NHL for I believe 17 years now, most of his career obviously with the Flyers. But if I'm Claude Giroux, I'm going to Steve Staios and demanding a trade. I think this is absolutely embarrassing, and Vladimir Tarasenko most likely playing his final game at the Canadian Tire Center. We have a game against Philadelphia, and then we go on the road to California. So you can expect a guy like Tarasenko to be done after this. Maybe sometime next week he gets traded between the Flyers game and the Ducks game. But again, Kubalik, I would put Katzberg the ghost in the lineup. I wouldn't notice a difference, as well as an empty net. I mean, Korpisalo and Forsberg are Swiss cheese. Both of them should not be back next season in the Senators uniform. I would bring in 2 new goalies if I'm the Senators. Steve Sales has a lot of work to do. The team needs a ton of surgery, as Jim Rutherford said last year, major surgery. Because let me tell you, this core is not it. They're here, I'm concerned, just because they're getting a paycheck. Thomas Chabot, he sucks, but he's getting $8 million. Why should we care? Josh Norris, the most mentally weak player in hockey right now, making $8 million. Injured yet again, making $8 million. Why does he care? Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle, good players, but making at least over $8.2 million each. Why should they care? Claude Giroux, who hasn't won a cup, and he's on the back end of his career. I would demand a trade if I was him. And then Vladimir Tarasenko, he's going to be gone. And then our pathetic goaltending, and then our defense. Thomas Chabot, like I said, Jacob Chychrun, not playing great. Jake Sanderson, the only good defenseman we have. Artem Zub, he's a China doll. This team is utterly pathetic, and if I'm going to be very sincere to you, they don't deserve to win a game for the rest of the season. If you're losing to the Arizona Coyotes, a team that doesn't even have an arena, a team that lost 14 in a row, their goaltender hasn't won a game in the entire 2024 calendar year, and they didn't win a game since January 22nd. You couldn't even beat them. Unbelievable. So, I'm very fired up because this team should not be this bad, and they're still playing this bad. They're softer than Charmin, and if you know puck, if you watch games, you can tell, you're like, dang, this team is not good, and they deserve to be where they are with how pathetic they play. It's one thing where they're playing hard and they're just not winning games, but the effort hasn't been there, and it's absolutely embarrassing. I think a Pee Wee team would put more heart, emotion, and motivation in their game than the Ottawa Senators have over the last week. That's how pathetic this team is. Absolutely incompetent, and Steve Sales, like I said, needs a lot of work to be done, and I don't even have a lot of confidence in him to do his job, because he is playing the waiting game like Lou Lamoriello, probably even worse, because he hasn't even been an NHL executive for 5 months. He's been one since September, and this team just has a lot of curiosity around it. Steve Sales doesn't even know what it's like to be an NHL GM. The only thing he's done is sign Shane Pinto to a league minimum contract for 1 year. That's just about it. If he pulls off an absolutely embarrassing trade deadline, which I have a gut feeling he might, because I don't think he's a good GM, to be quite honest with you. And the only reason why he got the GM job is because he knows Michael Landauer from Hamilton. I don't think he's a man for this job. I think there's a lot of change that needs to happen in this organization, starting with the front office. There needs to be a different GM, in my opinion, because I don't think Sales is it. I would consider bringing in a couple more assistant GMs, maybe a couple advisors. Coaching staff, obviously, that's going to get an overhaul in the offseason. That's almost no surprise to anybody. But the roster needs a shake-up, and I would consider trading a couple of core players. Maybe starting with Thomas Chabot. I don't know if Josh Norris is going to get any value because, like I said, he's always injured, and he just doesn't have the mental strengthness of the game. So, if I'm the Senators, there's a lot to look at moving forward. 25-30-3, absolutely embarrassing. There's no words. So, we play the Philadelphia Flyers. My preview prediction will be coming out for that. If they start Cal Peterson and we lose to them, it's even worse, in my opinion. That guy is worse than any other goaltender I've seen, but we'll see if they go with Urson. I don't even care anymore. The season's over with, and I don't know why I should be invested in this team. And Sens fans shouldn't either, because why should we pay and watch a team that's not giving in 100% effort? That's just where I am right now with this team. Absolutely pathetic and embarrassing. So, like I said, preview predictions of the Flyers coming out soon, but for now, Jack and the Ottawa Senators all, go Sens go.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the Ottawa Senators Outlook. For more of this podcast, click on the videos on the left, and subscribe by clicking on the icon on the right. Thank you.